Hare Krishna, Hare
Andrew
Krishna.
staying with us. He'll be joining in person in just a minute, but probably 10 minutes or so. Okay. So
Hare Krishna, Hare
Andrew
Krishna.
staying with us. He'll be joining in person in just okay. I'm going to mute the YouTube. All right. So we'll get started with some invocation prayers, and I'll share my screen. Cool.
Share your screen. I can't even see your screen.
Hey, that's not my fault. You have slow internet.
Hey, why you gotta diss me? I'm
Not
here trying to support.
now. If it'll help you pay closer attention because you won't be able to follow along. Well, unless you have your book. Do you have your book?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
What
get your.
page, chapter?
We're in chapter 5, and then it's part B, so it'll be chapter 5, and the section title is Chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, and in your book, that should be around page 130 something or 152 maybe. I don't remember. I haven't looked at it in a minute.
All right.
Did you find it?
I found the incarnation of love of God.
Yeah, so you'll go to the next section after that. It's 5B, so this is the second. Okay. I'll do some invocation prayers and we'll get started.
Wait, so it's chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that one?
Yep.
Okay.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Keshava Bharti Das Goswami Niti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Jnanatamrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're reading from The Science of Self-Realization, Chapter 5, Section B, Chanting the Hare Krishna Mantra. And smaller crowd tonight. Others must be a little busy. We'll see what happens. So, this simplest method of meditation is recommended for this age. By practical experience also, one can perceive that by chanting this Maha Mantra, or the great chanting for deliverance, one can feel a transcendental ecstasy coming through from the spiritual stratum. Wow, it's Bhakti Jax. Hare Krishna.
Dr. Jack.
Man, old faithful.
How's it going, Dr. Jack?
Pretty good, pretty good.
We're just getting
Yeah.
started. You didn't miss a thing. Don't worry.
We're just getting started.
Okay. The transcendental vibration established by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the sublime method for reviving our transcendental consciousness. As living spiritual souls, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities. But due to our association with matter from time immemorial, our consciousness is now adulterated by the material atmosphere. The material atmosphere in which we are now living is called Maya, or illusion. Maya means that which is not. And what is this illusion? The illusion is that we are all trying to be lords of material nature, while actually we are under the grip of her stringent laws. When a servant artificially tries to imitate the all-powerful master, he is said to be in illusion. We are trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but actually we are becoming more and more entangled in her complexities. Therefore, although we are engaged in a hard struggle to conquer nature, we are ever more dependent on her. This illusory struggle against material nature can be stopped at once by revival of our eternal Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare is the transcendental process for reviving this original, pure consciousness. By chanting this transcendental vibration, we can cleanse away all misgivings within our hearts. The basic principle of all such misgivings is the false consciousness that I am the Lord of all I survey. Krishna consciousness. Oops. I need to grab my charger. Before we push on, let's get prepared. Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. This consciousness is the original, natural energy of the living entity. When we hear this transcendental vibration, this consciousness is revived. This simplest method of meditation is recommended in this age. By practical experience also, one can perceive that by chanting this Maha mantra, or the great chanting for deliverance, one can at once feel a transcendental ecstasy coming through from the spiritual stratum. In the material concept of life, we are busy in the matter of sense gratification, as if we were in the lower animal stage. A little elevated from this status of sense gratification, one is engaged in mental speculation for the purpose of getting out of the material clutches. So, at the lower stage, the lower stages, similar to animal life, we're simply chasing after sense gratification, stimulation of the senses. A little higher, mental speculation, we start contemplating reality, trying to understand things about the world more deeply. And let's go. A little elevated from this speculative status, when one is intelligent enough, one tries to find out the supreme cause of all causes, within and without. And when one is factually on the plane of spiritual understanding, surpassing the stages of sense, mind, and intelligence, he is then on the transcendental plane. This chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is enacted from the spiritual platform, and thus this sound vibration surpasses all lower strata of consciousness, namely sensual, mental, and intellectual. There is no need, therefore, to understand the language of the mantra, nor is there any need for mental speculation, nor any intellectual adjustment for chanting this Maha mantra. It is automatic from the spiritual platform, and as such, anyone can take part in the chanting without any previous qualification. In a more advanced stage, of course, one is not expected to commit offenses on the grounds of spiritual understanding. In the beginning, there may not be the presence of all transcendental ecstasies, which are 8 in number. These are 1, being stopped as though dumb, being frozen, stunned, you could say. 2, perspiration. 3, standing up of hairs on the body. 4, dislocation of voice, choking of the voice. 5, trembling. 6, fading of the body. 7, crying in ecstasy. And 8, trance. But there is no doubt that chanting for a while takes one immediately to the spiritual platform, and one shows the first symptom of this in the urge to dance along with the chanting of the mantra. We have seen this practically. Even a child can take part in the chanting and dancing. Of course, for one who is too entangled in material life, it takes a little more time to come to the standard point. But even such a materially engrossed man is raised to the spiritual platform very quickly. When the mantra is chanted by a pure devotee of the Lord in love, it has the greatest efficacy on hearers, and as such this chanting should be heard from the lips of a pure devotee of the Lord, so that immediate effects can be achieved. As far as possible, chanting from the lips of non-devotees should be avoided. Milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. The word Hara is the form of addressing the energy of the Lord, and the words Krishna and Rama are forms of addressing the Lord himself. But Krishna and Rama mean the supreme pleasure. Both Krishna and Rama mean the supreme pleasure, and Hara is the supreme pleasure energy of the Lord, changed to Hare in the vocative. The supreme pleasure energy of the Lord helps us to reach the Lord. The material energy called Maya is also one of the multi-energies of the Lord, and we, the living entities, are also the energy, marginal energy of the Lord. The living entities are described as superior to material energy. When the superior energy is in contact with the inferior energy, an incompatible situation arises. We can say that again. When the superior energy is in contact with the inferior energy, an incompatible situation arises. That's our situation. But when the superior marginal energy, us, is in contact with the superior energy, Hara, it is established in its happy, normal condition. These three words, namely Hare, Krishna, and Rama, are the transcendental seeds of the Maha Mantra. The chanting is a spiritual call for the Lord and his energy to give protection to the conditioned soul. This chanting is exactly like the genuine cry of a child for its mother's presence. Mother Hara helps the devotee achieve the Lord Father's grace, and the Lord reveals himself to the devotee who chants this mantra sincerely. No other means of spiritual realization is as effective in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy as the chanting of the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right, so that's the purport to the holy names, to the Maha Mantra. We'll pause for a minute for any discussion. Anything? All right. Carry on then. Krishna consciousness, the yoga for the modern age. It is not that this movement is simply a sentimental movement. Don't think that these boys are dancing out of some religious sentiment or fanaticism. No, we have the highest philosophical and theosophical background, but it is all simplified. That is the beauty of this movement. Whether one is a great scholar or a child, he can take part without any difficulty. Cheto darpanam marjanam bhavamahadavagni nirvapanam Shreya kairava chandrika viternam vidya vadu jivanam Anandam burivardhanam pratipadam purnam rita swadanam Sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. That's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila, chapter 20, text 12. Jai, Darby's on the call too. Hare Krishna. The one and only, Darbs. All right, we're going to continue on. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was only a 16-year-old boy, introduced this Sankirtan movement 500 years ago in Navadvip, India. It was not that he manufactured some religious system, just as nowadays so many religious systems are being manufactured. Actually, religion cannot be manufactured. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam sakshad bhagavat pranitam. Bhagavatam 6.3.19. Religion means the codes of God, the laws of God, that's all. Certainly we cannot live without obeying the state laws, and similarly we cannot live without obeying the laws of God. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.7, the Lord says that whenever there are discrepancies in the prosecution of religious activities, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, and there is a predominance of irreligious activities, abhyutanam adharmasya, at that time I, Krishna, appear, tadatmanam sajamyaham. And in the material world, we can see the same principle demonstrated. For whenever there is disobedience of state laws, there is the advent of some particular state officer or policeman to, quote-unquote, set things right. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was worshipped by the Goswamis. There were 6 Goswamis: Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. All right, who knows the 6 Goswamis? This is quiz time. Okay, I'll give you a hint. You can look at the first 2. All right, you guys. Well, we can read again. This is important to know, the 6 Goswamis. So Lord Chaitanya, he came and he gave he basically unleashed a tidal wave of ecstatic Krishna prema on the world. And the 6 Goswamis took all of that and they put it and they basically systemized well, Lord Chaitanya gave philosophy and so many things, and they wrote it all out. They wrote everything out. And Lord Chaitanya there's only 8 verses which are ascribed to him as his written instruction, and that's the Shikshashtaka, which one of those verses we just read earlier at the start of this section. And Rupa and Sanatana were the head of the 6 Goswamis. They're the most senior, and they had very, very intimate association with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so they delineated this system, which are basically the awakening of spontaneous devotional service, in especially which Lord Chaitanya gave, which is the mood of Srimati Radharani's and her associates there as Madhurya Rasa. So this is the revelation Lord Chaitanya is giving. It's like the treasure which he is given, and the Goswamis have delineated and described it in various ways, and also so you can read their works. Jiva Goswami especially is one of actually the greatest philosopher in the last 500 years. He's unheard of, profoundly capable Jiva Goswami is as a scholar. And anyway, the 6 Goswamis, good persons to know about, read about, and pray to, because they are giving all empowerment. Actually, we're Rupa Nugas. We follow in the footsteps of those who are following Srila Rupa Goswami. So there are 3 meanings of go. So Goswami. So go means land, go means cow, and go means senses, and Swami means master. So Goswami means that they were masters of the senses. When one becomes master of the senses or Goswami, he can make progress in spiritual life. That is the real meaning of Swami. Swami means that one is not servant of the senses, but master of them. One of the 6 Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, was the head, and he compiled a nice verse in honor of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, oh, I was just looking at this verse the other day. Anarpita charim charat karunaya vitirna kalau samarpayitum anatoj valarasam svabhakti shriyam haripurata sundara duty kadamba sandipita sada hridaya kandare spuratu vashachinandanaha. I was trying to find out the meter for this. I didn't know how to sing it in a way that it was like smooth. It was hard for me to, in a fluid way, chant this verse. That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi, text 1. So Kalau means this age of Kali, the Iron Age, which is very much contaminated, an age of quarrel and disagreement. Rupa Goswami says that in this age of Kali, when everything is disagreement and quarrel, quote, you have descended to offer the highest love of God, end quote. Samarpayitum anatoj valarasam. And not only the topmost, but a very brilliant rasa, or transcendental humor. Purata sundara duty. Your complexion is just like gold, like the luster of gold. You are so kind that I bless everyone. The Goswamis can bless because they are masters of the senses. So they bless everyone that this form of the Lord, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, may always remain dancing in everyone's heart. When Rupa Goswami first met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Prayag, Lord Chaitanya was chanting and dancing in the street, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. At that time, also, Rupa Goswami offered one prayer, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Premapradayate, C.C. Madhya, 1953. Oh, you are the most munificent of all incarnations, because you are distributing love of Godhead. Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaur Tvishe Namaha. You are Krishna himself, because if you were not Krishna, you could not distribute Krishna Prema, or love of God. For love of Krishna is not so easily acquired, but you are distributing this love freely to everyone. In this way, the Sankirtan movement was inaugurated in Bengal, India, and Navadvip. In this sense, the Bengalis are very fortunate that in their country this movement was inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya predicted, Viti vite achayata nagaradigram sarvacha prachara haibe moranam. In all the villages and towns all over the world, everywhere this Sankirtan movement will be preached. Chaitanya Bhagavat Antyakanda 4:126. That is his prediction. So by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, this movement is already introduced in the Western countries, beginning from New York. Our Sankirtan movement was first introduced in New York in 1966. At that time, I came and began to chant this Hare Krishna mantra in Tompkins Square. I was chanting there for 3 hours with a small mridanga, drum, and these American boys assembled and gradually joined, and so it is increasing. First of all, it was started in a New York storefront, 26 2nd Avenue. Then we started our branches in San Francisco, Montreal, Boston, Los Angeles, Buffalo, Columbus. We now, in 1970, have 24 branches, including one in London and one in Hamburg. In London, they are all American boys and girls, and they are preaching. They are not sannyasis, nor are they Vedantists, nor Hindus, nor Indians, but they have taken this movement very seriously. Even in the London Times, there was an article headlined, Krishna chant startles London. So we have many in the movement now. All my disciples, at least in this country, are Americans and Europeans. They are chanting, dancing, and distributing a magazine, Back to Godhead. Now we have published many books, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita as it is, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and Ishopanishad. It is not that this movement is simply a sentimental movement. Don't think that these boys are dancing out of some religious sentiment or fanaticism. No, we have the highest philosophical and theosophical background. As an illustration, let us consider Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. While he was preaching, he went to Benares, the seat of Mayavadi sannyasis. So Benares was the seat of Mayavadis, but it was the seat of scholars, Vedantic scholars, persons who were very learned in Sanskrit and Vedanta, philosophical. Their main thing was debate too, so they would debate with each other, and in that way it was very refined. Their philosophical understanding. Still in India, the philosophical knowledge of India is very deep. It was way ahead of, the Western makes the Western philosophy seem trivial. So anyway, Benares was the seat of Mayavadi sannyasis, who are known as they study Vedanta very deeply, or a lot. The followers of Shankaracharya are mostly seen in Benares. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, he was chanting and dancing. Some of the people very much appreciated this, and so he quickly became famous. One prominent sannyasi, Prakashananda Saraswati, leader of many thousands of Mayavadi sannyasis, was informed, "Oh, from Bengal, one young sannyasi has come. He is so nicely chanting and dancing." Prakashananda Saraswati was a great Vedantist, and he did not like the idea. He said, "Oh, he's a pseudo-sannyasi. He's chanting and dancing. This is not the business of a sannyasi. A sannyasi should always engage himself in the study of philosophy and the Vedanta." Then, one of the devotees who did not like the remarks of Prakashananda Saraswati came back and informed Lord Chaitanya that he was being criticized. So the devotee arranged a meeting of all the sannyasis, and there was a philosophical discussion on the Vedanta between Prakashananda Saraswati and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These accounts and philosophical discussions are given in our teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It is remarkable that Prakashananda himself and all his disciples became Vaishnavas. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a great discussion with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the greatest logician of that time, who was also a Mayavadi impersonalist, and he was also converted. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is not mere sentimentalism. There is a very rich background. If one wants to understand this Sankirtan movement through philosophy and logic, there's a rich background if you want to do so. There is ample opportunity, for this movement is based on science and on the authority of the Vedas, but it is all simplified. That is the beauty of this movement. Whether one is a great scholar or philosopher or a child, he can take part without any difficulty. Other systems of self-realization, the jnana process or yoga process, are also recognized, but it is not possible to practice them in this age. That is the verdict of the Vedas. Krite yadhyayato vishnum chaitayam yatato mukai dwapare paricharayam kalo tadari kirtanat. Bhagavatam 12:352. In the Satya Yuga, the Golden Age, it was possible to execute the meditation process. For instance, Valmiki Muni meditated for 60,000 years to get perfection. But where is our old age? Besides that, for the meditation process as described in the Bhagavad Gita, one has to select a secluded place. He has to execute it alone. He has to sit down in a rigid posture. He has to lead a life of complete celibacy, and so on. There are many rules and regulations. Thus, Ashtanga Yoga meditation is not possible. If one is satisfied by imitating, that is a different thing. But if one wants perfection, then he has to execute all the 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga. If this is not possible, then it is a waste of time. So basically, the meditation and yoga being performed in all the studios at this time in the name of Ashtanga Yoga or Hatha Yoga, it's really a waste of time for spiritual advancement. Of course, Prabhupada's saying that if you want to do an imitation, that's okay. For physical health, you can do some gymnastics basically, but for God realization, it won't take you to the point of, yeah. Some people can reach Brahman, possibly Paramatma if you're really serious, but you probably have to leave the city and stop eating meat, stop having sex, so many things, no intoxication. Then they might come to that platform, but Bhagavan realization won't happen without following the instruction of Bhagavan. So what is the ultimate goal of the yoga process or meditation? Contact with the Supreme, the Super Soul, the Supreme Lord, is the aim and object of all yoga processes. Similarly, philosophical research, the jnana process, also aims at understanding the Supreme Brahman. These are recognized processes, undoubtedly, but according to authoritative description, they are not practical in this iron age of Kali. Therefore, one has to take to this process of Hari Kirtan. Anyone can practice without pre-qualification. One doesn't have to study philosophy or Vedanta. This was the purport of Lord Chaitanya's meeting with Prakashananda Saraswati. When the Vedanta philosophy was thoroughly discussed between Lord Chaitanya and Prakashananda Saraswati, Prakashananda Saraswati first of all asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, quote, I understand that you are a very good scholar that you were a very good scholar in your early life. In brackets here, Lord Chaitanya was actually a very great scholar. His name was Nimai Pandit, and at the age of 16, he defeated a great scholar from Kashmir, Keshava Kashmiri. Continuing the quote, so in his early life, he was a great scholar. And I understand that you are a great Sanskrit scholar, and that especially in logic, you are very learned. You are a very learned scholar. You were also born in a Brahmana family, and now you are a sannyasi. How is it that you are chanting and dancing and not reading the Vedanta? End quote. This was the first question asked by Prakashananda Saraswati, and Lord Chaitanya replied, quote, yes, the reason is that when I was initiated by my spiritual master, he said that I am fool number one. Quote, you don't discuss the Vedanta, he told me. You simply spoil your time. You will simply spoil your time. Just take to this chanting of Hare Krishna and you will be successful. End quote. That was his reply. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not a fool, and certainly the Vedanta is not for fools. One needs sufficient education and one must attain a certain status before he can understand the Vedanta. In each and every word, there are volumes of meanings, and there are many commentaries by Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, huge volumes in Sanskrit. But how can we understand Vedanta? It is not possible. It may be possible for one person or two to understand, but for the mass of people it is not possible. Nor is it possible to practice yoga. Therefore, if one takes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's method, chanting Hare Krishna, the first installment of gain will be Chaito Darpanamarjanam. All the dirty things will be cleansed from the heart simply by chanting. Chant. There is no expenditure and there is no loss. If one simply chants for 1 week, he will see how much he will progress in spiritual knowledge. We are attracting many students simply by chanting, and they are understanding the entire philosophy and becoming purified. This society was started only 4 years ago in 1966, and now we're in our 60th year. And we have so many branches already. The American boys and girls are taking it very seriously, and they are happy. Ask any one of them, Chaito Darpana Marjanam. They are cleansing the dirty things from the heart, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The next point is Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam. So we cleanse the mirror of the heart with Chaito Darpana Marjanam, and then Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam. As soon as the heart is cleansed of all dirty things, then all the problems, all the big problems we have of material existence are immediately solved. This world has been compared to Davagni, which means a blazing fire in the forest. In this material existence, no one wants unhappiness. but it comes by force. That is the law of material nature. No one wants fire, but wherever we go in a city, the fire brigade is always active. There is always fire. Similarly, there are many things that no one wants. No one wants death. There is death. No one wants disease. There is disease. No one wants old age. There is old age. They are there against our will, against our desire. Thus, we should consider the state of this material existence. This human form of life is meant for understanding, not for wasting this valuable life like animals, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That is not advancement of civilization. The Bhagavatam says that this body is not meant for working hard simply for sense gratification. Nayam deho deha bhajam nirloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujamye. Vidbhujami. That's in Bhagavatam 5.5.1. To work very hard and satisfy oneself. Hey, we didn't read the verse. We got to look at the verse. This is from Teachings of Lord Rishabhadev to his sons. Lord Rishabhadev told his sons, "My dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever." So we should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service, rather than doing what the dogs and hogs are doing. Hare Krishna. So, to work very hard and satisfy oneself by sense gratification is the business of hogs, not human beings. The human being should learn tapasya, austerity. Especially in India, so many great sages, so many great kings, and so many brahmacharis and sannyasis have passed their lives in great tapasya in order not to go further to sleep. In order not to go further to sleep. Lord Buddha was a prince who gave up everything and engaged in tapasya. In this life, when King Bharat, under whose name India was named Bharatvarsh, was 24 years old, he gave up his kingdom, his young wife, and young children, and went away for tapasya. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was only 24, he gave up his young wife, mother, everything. There are many, many examples. In India is the land of tapasya, but we are forgetting that. We are now making it the land of technology. It is surprising that India is now no longer propagating this tapasya, for India is the land of Dharma, Dharma Kshetre Kuru Kshetre. But it is not only in India. Everywhere in this age of iron, everything is degraded in this sense. Prayenal payasha sabya kalavasmin yuge jana. Let's see what that verse says. This is in the first canto. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Yep, yeah, that's pretty accurate for the age of Kali. Quarrelsome. If you doubt it, then just go on Facebook, go on Reddit, go on so many things and see everybody fighting. Go in Houston traffic. Lazy. Yeah, it's there. Just everybody using ChatGPT for everything. Misguided. Yep. We have our president and our education system. Unlucky. I wonder what that word. Mandabhagya. Anyway, I don't know what Mandabhagya means other than unlucky. And always disturbed. Okay, back to the reading. So in this age of Kali, the duration of life is diminished, and men are not moved to understand self-realization. And if they are invariably misled by so many deficient leaders. The age is very corrupt. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's process of chanting Hare Krishna is the best and simplest method. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatir anyata. In this age of Kali, there is no other religion than glorifying the Lord by utterance of his holy name, and that is the injunction of all the revealed scriptures. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. This verse appears in the Brihan Naradiya Purana. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Simply chant Hare Krishna. There's no other alternative. Kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatir anyata. In this age, Kali, there is no alternative for self-realization, so we have to accept it. I want to pause in case there's any discussion. We lost me here, and we lost Hans along the way. But we still have Darby and Jax. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
What do you think, Jax? What's going on?
I was just reflecting on how the education system is, even though it might seem like you're getting a higher education, like me right now, I've come to realize that it's like I'm teaching myself. Like they just have this like they just set it up already. So I'm like going through it, but it's like no one's actually teaching me. I'm actually teaching myself. So I don't know. It's just everything is weird in this material world.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, and then we also look at, I mean, there's practical things we can learn, but the quality of the education too, in terms of what do they teach and what don't they teach. And Srila Prabhupada would always emphasize, where is the place where they're teaching what is the difference between a dead body and a living body? They can have these huge institutions for teaching, you know, how to make microchips and how to do all kinds of things. Environmental studies, they have you can study the entire universe if you want, or philosophies or medicine, all different parts of the body and so many things, but still, or even the most minute particles and subatomic particles, but still they don't know what makes a body living or makes it dead. But they'll go here, there, and everywhere to discuss everything else.
I think I heard somewhere on this Bhakti Instagram page that like even the greatest scientists, like when they try to get to the origin of existence, they they either can't explain it without explaining God, or they realize that, oh, for sure, like there is a God for sure. So it's like it's just it always just comes down to it.
Well, they have their ways. I mean, they have their ways of describing it without God because they've been facing that since basically in like historically, we're kind of in a situation like the academic field and the major, well, not even major, I mean, most people are theistic, but it's been popularized to kind of reject religion as a knee-jerk reaction to fanatic religion throughout the past. And that began, that was happening with the scientific revolution. At first, they weren't in disagreement, science and religion, but because the church was basically there was so much going on, the ideologies were starting to split, and there was again fanatic religion, which wasn't able to, you know, basically understand the world or that we're living in. And then there was the scientific advancements. We have Galileo looking into space and through his little telescope and seeing different things, seeing planets and stars, seeing the stars and the moon more clearly, and so many things. And gradually, Isaac Newton and so many people, and it just started to shift. And we had, was it Newton? Newton's he there was him and somebody else, basically calculus. They say he invented calculus. Of course, that's really they discovered it, you can say. But him and somebody else, I can't remember the other person, but they both had it, and it's interesting. They both had different ideologies. The other personality who there was the debate who discovered it first. His philosophy, his perspective wasn't as much like Newton's. Newton's was more mechanistic, you could say. He was more so um, the other person was looking at things more of the why, trying to understand why things are happening. What is this world? Little more deeply. But then Newton's was that he utilized calculus in a different way, which helped to exploit, you know, material energy more. And anyway, gradually it just became more and more mechanistic and focused and on basically on what's the word I'm looking for? Um, re reductional, reductionism. Basically, they're reducing things to the smallest particles, and basically keeping God out of the picture. They felt like at a certain point, God's not necessary anymore. We've gone beyond that. So these kind of ideas started seeping into, became prominent in the universities, as most universities were theistic in the beginning, because the church was very heavy in certain things that they were accepting. They started to form an ideology in which I can't remember exactly, but anyways, somehow or they started detaching a little bit from the idea of God, and then gradually it got covered over. And now we have a completely
That's
atheistic
interesting.
thing. So it was kind of a gradual progression to where it is now, but it's a bit of a reaction due to fanaticism. But what we really need is not, we don't need fanatic religion, and we don't need fanatic atheism. We need to be able to harmonize both perspectives and be able to communicate our ideas across these different boundaries and have a more complete perspective of reality. Because still, although they tried to describe God out of the picture, even with they have the Big Bang or the various other theories they come up with, um, they don't know ultimately um, what happened, what was beyond the creation of the universe. They know at a certain point of development of the material energy, what kind of laws and things carried it forward, but they don't know states beyond like a certain level that they've been able to calculate. And there's also an extreme fine tuning. So those who are theistic, when they look at the universe, they get inspired about God. But those who are atheistic will try to reject. So even though they may look it right in the face, that there are things which are so finely tuned in our universe. One of them, um, the cosmic constant, that's one which there's no answer to according to the modern scientific understanding, which is that there is um, what is the word? Hmm, there's vacuum energy. There's what is it? Cosmic vacuum energy. Anyway, I'm not an expert in all these terms, but the point is that um,
Like a black hole or something.
no, the what was it? What's his name? This super I, Einstein. Einstein developed. There was one formula which really described. Basically, there's a formula which describes the cosmic radiation or background radiation, I think, and there's a level which is necessary for sustaining the galaxies, the planets, the rotation of the stars, so many things. Basically, our universe is situated in this very finely tuned thing. It's I guess I'm put in very simple terms because I don't know all these things, but the point is that it's
Oh, like there's like an equation that like
Yeah,
Like,
but there's a measurement of energy, and that energy, if it were more or less, and the number is 10 to the 128th power, I believe, or negative 128. So it's a very minute amount according to this understanding. And this like formula fits, like this works. This is completely solid formula, and it's like it's been tried and true as correct. Yet with quantum mechanics or quantum physics, they've been what they say the cosmic vacuum energy. Anyway, I forgot the word, but the point is that the radiation energy, what it should be, according to their understand, like what they've calculated with also with these their formulas, is that it's not, it shouldn't be 10 to the negative 120. It should be 10 to the 120th power. So it's a huge gap. And somehow or other, these differences from the quantum scale to the I don't know what the other word for that would be, macro, the large scale, is is like they balance it basically it cancels itself out. The universe is canceling out the cosmic um cosmic energy. What is that word I'm looking? Cosmic vacuum energy, I think. Anyway, I'm skeptical if that's correct. But the vacuum energy, it cancels it out to a like infinitely, like very tiny degree. And if it were to be more or less, then our galaxies would scatter or they would collapse on themselves. But it comes to a very point where it doesn't cancel out all the way to zero, but it cancels out to an infinitesimal degree where it stops. And they can't understand how this is happening. They don't understand any of this. But the point of it, although it took me so long to describe that, was that it's extremely fine-tuned to support life and the structure and organization that's here. And some of them can see that very clearly and they have faith in God because of it. And some of them see that and they find some other way to try to describe it. Like they concoct this theory of multiverses, where they say, oh, we just happen to exist in the universe that this does work in, and therefore we're seeing it. But in other universes, it may not be like that. But they have no basis. That's just speculation. They have no factual ability to make that statement like on any kind of like solid ground. It's just a way of trying to again push the idea of an intelligent creator out of the picture. So anyway, so they'll find ways, they'll speculate and say so many things, but
that's fascinating.
I'll send you more on it because I'm really super ignorant. So it's not,
No, you actually you explained it to where I could understand it, so
yeah, because I had to keep it in my realm of understanding. And maybe you're better than me, but my
no,
realm is not very advanced. It's like,
no, I know nothing about quantum physics. I just know it's like they're trying to like understand how this world was created, and it's like they probably will never understand it without accepting that there's a creator.
mhm. Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, they're atheists, so
Yeah.
they don't have to accept. And I mean, there's so many things. I mean, even the hard question of consciousness, they call it the hard problem of consciousness. They can't solve it because their perspective is a naturalist philosophy, basically. And then but with the naturalist philosophy, which basically only accepts those things which are proven through empiric scientific knowledge, that's difficult to maintain. So then they develop something else because morals can't be explained with that, and even that law itself can't be explained without something metaphysical. Because to say something there is no truth other than that which can be perceived by the senses is itself it's something that can't be proven without by the senses. And anyway, there's a lot of debate philosophically, scientifically. They're finding so many ways to argue the point. But yeah, I mean, anyway, for me, it makes the most sense. And really, what it comes down to is that any major body of knowledge there are assumptions which have to be accepted, axiomatic truths you may call them, or yeah, things which basically you just have to accept because there's no way to prove it or disprove it, you can say. So science also starts with those assumptions, and God consciousness starts with those assumptions, faith in God. But then we can look at the result of accepting such a body of knowledge. Science itself isn't bad, but it persons accepting the completely atheistic worldview and with keeping God completely out of the picture has created mass genocides. That's what, I mean, Marxism, that's what it did. Stalin, and it's huge. Millions of people slaughtered, murdered, and killed, whatever. And then the Holocaust also, I believe that was also I believe his philosophy was similar to this um, naturalistic or Darwinism, all these things. So basically, the idea is their body of knowledge produces horrific results, and faith in God can also produce horrific results if it's being misused. In science, again, if it's being misused, it can produce those results. But yeah, those who are serious and apply God consciousness and apply the process, it produces a beautiful and sustainable and natural result that we've seen through history, especially in India. It's lasted for many thousands and thousands of years in a way that people live with the world and they don't exploit it to such an extent that it's just like detrimental to others because they know that there are future generations coming and so many things there. It's a sustainable way of living and they see everything as alive, as personal. But our way of living is causing so much turmoil and distress. So, I mean, really, it's where we want to put our faith, but ultimately, we should be able to look at the history and look at what's happening. And although there's some good things coming from science, we can also see that it's not sustainable. Industrial revolution. Anyway, sorry to go on and on.
No, thank you. That was awesome.
Just you said that at a certain point they have to accept God, but they don't have to. But if you anyway, if you're not against God completely, it seems like a more sustainable way to move forward. Not fanatic religion, but enlightened society and with love of God in the center.
Right. I mean, accepting that maybe there is one, or like just accepting that is a form of like intelligence, being like, okay, I don't know it all. Like I can't say for sure there is not a God or a creator. I think that's more, it's a better way to move forward for scientific people. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
there's differences. I mean, there's science and there's scientism. Scientism is just as bad as a fanatic religionist because they just accept science as a religion and make an absolute statement such as there is nothing except which can be seen with the senses and that there is no God, basically. These are statements which they have no ability to prove. Actually, no science, atheistic science is interesting because it's stating that there is no God. It's stating it with a negative, it's stating with that, it's starting with that statement, and it has to prove that actually. It should be able to
right,
prove that. But God, actually, it's interesting because those who have faith, the philosophy of a intelligent creator, it's it's actually you can say what is the word I'm looking for? It's fundamentally basic or primarily basically it's a starting point that you can just assume you can accept there is God and you don't have to prove his existence because really he is self evident. God is self-evident. how can we say that he's self-evident? Well, because we accept there's a supreme intelligent creator, and therefore there is intelligent design, and therefore the things are working in harmony and natural as they are. But to say there is no God, then you have to prove it. I mean, we have the proof, which is his creation.
Right. Like you're using the mind that was intelligently designed to try to say that there isn't something that designed my mind. Like
Yeah, and they're trying. They also ultimately they don't even know what they are. Therefore, they don't have any conception that they don't. Of course, there are fields which somehow try to accept consciousness or awareness. They don't know how, because they're again are accepting the naturalistic viewpoint. Usually, they'll try to explain consciousness to a something that's developed at a certain point of of um, material advancement or development, something that awakens from the brain, basically. And but they can't explain how, and they can't explain one major thing they can't explain is how is it that I have eyes here and ears here and nose here, mouth here, skin here, and all these things are taking in information, and if there's not an individual, a single, a unit, a conscious unit who's taking all these inputs and being synthesized into one single experience, and then how's it happening? Because it's not in the brain. There's no unifying quality of the brain that's been found to explain why it is that we have one experience from all of our senses. They can't explain that. But the soul very easily explains that there's one soul, conscious user of the body. Anyway, these are some more points. Another one, you want to hear another one?
yeah.
Another way I can't remember the philosopher who coined this argument. He might have, I'm not sure what he was arguing for, but he was arguing against the naturalistic view, which is that consciousness is a product of matter, or awareness is a product of matter. And he brought up the idea of it's like a thought experiment, you can say, like a philosophical zombie. Have you heard of that before?
Um, no, but I feel like maybe it's like I don't know, explain it.
Okay. So a philosophical zombie is um, basically it's like a exact replica of like a biological machine, you can say. It's like an exact replica of you. It looks just like you, sounds just like you, reacts and it does everything. Maybe not think I don't, but
Like a clone.
yeah, it's an exact clone, yet it's not you.
Huh.
And it knows basically as soon as you when you kick something by accident, you stub your toe, and the way you react is natural because you're alive. But this is not alive. This clone is not it's not alive, but it still knows exactly how to respond just like you. So the point is that if we can separate ourselves, like this thing is, it may, say you stub your toe, it may scrunch its face up and yell, ah, or Hare Krishna, but it doesn't know what it's doing actually. It's doing that what you would do basically, just as you
Huh.
would do it. But
That's
it's
like that's like what AI does. It copies the human
yeah,
experience.
like you're looking in a mirror. The mirror doesn't actually, the reflection doesn't really know what it is to be you. What is it like to be you? It doesn't know that. So if we can separate ourselves from this body and our mentality and all of these things, that means we are something other than these things. We are something other than this body. If we can conceive of this, of ourselves, an exact replica of our psychological, physical and psychological self being its own individual and independent thing from us, then actually we should understand that it's not truly us.
Mm, I like that.
Anyway, that's an argument. I'm not. I've looked into it a little. I didn't. I could go in further of it into it. I mean, I could in order to study it because I don't have a lot more depth other than that. But the point is that yeah, there is a difference between this person, the self, us, who is experiencing these things and knows what it's like to experience these things, and then um, the body is a different thing, which we are experiencing.
It really puts things into perspective because sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the observer. Like that's the true me.
Mhm.
But then who's the person saying that I'm the observer? Like maybe that's also not even me.
Mhm. Yeah, you can contemplate like that, but it's like we have to, we are aware. So there's layers of our awareness. We may be aware that we're thinking that we're the observer, but
Yeah.
there's a difference between our intellectually thinking something and our truly realizing or experiencing it. That's gyan and vigyan.
Hmm.
So there's knowledge which we can have. I can read I'm not my body and I can think about it and meditate on it and to a degree maybe perceive something, but then there's like full-blown realization or liberation from the material energy in which we experience that we're not the body and that nothing in relation to this body is ours and that we're eternal, that we don't die, we're not born. When this kind of experience is different, it's a different quality of knowledge.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Well, we'll pause for the night. Otherwise, we can go on and on discussing different things. Kind of halfway because I'm not so intelligent.
Philosophy with Petita.
Anyway, we're scraping by. Hare Krishna. So I'll call it a night for now. Thank you all for coming out. Darby, thanks for hanging in there. And Jax. Haribo.
Haribo.
Night.
Good night.